Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me tonight. Let's go do the news. Today we are doing the news. This is Clyde Plays News. And why would you read the internet when I would just choose to read it for you? Our top story today is a bunch of new ships which are coming to the game. But first, American destroyers. They've got some graphics updates and they've got some pictures of what appear to be the custom camouflages, the early access camos that are coming to the game for American destroyers. So let's check these out. I think these look great. This is a cool set of early access camos. And what I've been noticing about the early access camos of late is that, yes, it's the same as it always has been when they initially released the line. You can sometimes get one of them for free, maybe not get any of them, kind of depends on the event. And they tend to be pretty pricey. But what I've noticed is that some number of months later, it seems like some of these, maybe not all, but some of these are coming back in things like the Battle Pass, where for 2,500 dubs, if you're going to do the Battle Pass anyway, you might be able to get some of these previously difficult to get camos. What that means is that these early access camos really are a kind of an early access or a timed exclusive kind of concept, at least some of the time. I don't think there's a guarantee that this happens every time. So if you're unable to get these or you're unwilling to afford these when they first come out, I think that's not the end of the world. You might be able to get them more affordably in a Battle Pass later on. It says here, a brand new line of American destroyers consisting of Tier 7 Hughes, Tier 8 Osborne, Tier 9 Christopher, and Tier 10 Burroughs is entering early access in Update 14.6. Now, these ships focus on main battery firepower as well as, over stealth and torpedoes, especially at tiers 8 and beyond. They wield a powerful 137mm gun. Now, a normal American destroyer gun is a 127, so these are 10mm larger, which is going to have an impact on its HE penetration. It's going to have an impact on its SAP penetration as well. It says the shells are fired. The shells that they fire are HE and SAP shells, and the distinguishing feature of these destroyers is a unique smoke generator that can be toggled on and off at will. So it's almost like these boats have like a valve they can open up that releases the smoke, and then they can close it up. There is a minimum number of seconds you have to run it. I don't know what that number is off the top of my head, but it might be like 10 seconds or 12 seconds or something. So you can turn your smoke on. There's a minimum amount of time, then you can turn it back off. You have basically like the way your horn honks in the game, where you honk by hitting the N key, N is in November. You can do that for a little while until you run out. Now, your horn will recharge, the smoke on these destroyers will not. So you'll have an opportunity to basically manage that resource across the duration of the entire battle, which is kind of cool. If you only want to use a little bit of your smoke so that you can escape from line of sight, break line of sight, and try to get into some sort of darkness or safety, you can do that with a limited amount of your smoke resource, which I think is kind of interesting. We'll have to see how that plays out in practice, of course, and when the boats become available to the players at large. It says here you can toggle that on and off at will. However, like a submarine's dive capacity, the amount of smoke that can be used is limited, as I described there, which encourages strategic use. So I think that's kind of a neat thing. I don't think it's like so revolutionary that you're going to be like, whoa, I wish I could put this on all my destroyers. But I do think that what they've done here is they've added a new way to think about an old consumable, and that's cool. I want to see more of that from Wargaming. This is a cool thing. They've got a list of the classified documents that are going to be available for operations with flagships here. It says here, as previously announced, classified documents. That's that thing where at the beginning of a battle, you can choose a buff or a nerf, either a buff for your ship or a nerf for an enemy ship at the beginning of the battle, after you've seen the battle load in. I think there's a lot of us that have reservations about it. They're going to add it to clan battles. That gives me reservations. But at the same time, it's an opportunity for players to help provide some capability adjustments to the team as you see it load in, which might help to balance games and give you more of a fighting chance, or maybe more of an advantageous approach or strategy you can take in a game. I think the intent is good. I'm concerned about the implementation, but I've been through a lot of things like that with this game in the past, where I'm like, I think you guys have a good intent here, but I don't know about your implementation. Sometimes the implementations are fine, sometimes they're not so fine, and you know, I've still played the game for 10 years, so maybe they haven't chased me away with all that just yet. Content additions and changes. We got some captain portraits. I love unique captains, and it looks like we've got 5 interesting ones here. This guy in the middle just looks like a captain holding a notebook. Nowhere near as interesting as minigun Soviet metal jaw, or frost elf, or lady with cool future hair, or lady with tiny hat. All of those are much more interesting captains than regular Navy captain with a folder, but he's there too. So we've got La Marianne, Alexander Gromov, Angela Luti Ultima, and Vittorio Marino. Maybe he's Vittorio Marino? It must be Vittorio Marino, because that's a Italian name. But whatever, maybe he's a historical captain. I don't know. But they got some new captains coming, and I like getting new captains coming. It looks like 4 of these have individual voiceovers, so I would guess that Vittorio here is our regular-looking Italian captain. They've also got some, last but not least, they say 2 new ships. The Kiberpankov, which is based on the Dmitry Pozharsky, and the Tempesta Nera, based on the Ruggiero di Lauria. The Tempesta Nera looks cool. I think this is a neat looking camo. The Kiberpankov, which probably terribly pronounced, I apologize. It's got like graffiti and stuff on it. I don't know what's up with this one. I want to see it in port. I want to look at it really closely and see what she's all about, because I think that could be a cool camo. Looking at it here just briefly, I'm not sure I'm really sold on the neon green graffiti on it, but maybe it's cooler looking in port. I want to check it out. This is something that actually was announced earlier. Was it earlier this week? Looks like it was on June 2nd. So they announced this ship customization feature prototype. This is a thing we've had in World of Tanks for a long time. So if you've ever logged into that game before, and been a part of the World of Tanks community, you might have seen stuff like this. This is cool because it's a 3D element. So here, for example, they're saying you can put this little Jeep looking thing on the top of your ship, and you can link that to the ship. This is pretty cool. It says, we're pleased to inform you about a new feature. And they'll also have 2D things like stickers, as Biggles just said. We're pleased to inform you about a new feature currently in development that expands a range of the cosmetic changes you can make to your ship in the exterior section. The feature is currently in an early prototype phase, and depending on the results of the closed testing with our volunteers, we're excited to bring even more depth and personality to your ship customization in future updates. So this is cool. What you can see here, this is a picture of Jutland. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll try to make it a little bit bigger for you. But you've got these little green attachment points that are, I wish you guys could see my cursor, but spread across the ship here. And then over here, you've got like stickers or things that can go on one of those points. So here we can see an example of what a little squid would look like if you stuck that on your ship, which is kind of neat. And it says, we'll keep you posted with our progress. Stay tuned as we're planning to add more functionality to this feature, such as the ability to rotate, mirror, and scale these decorative elements. So right now it looks like you can't change the size, you can't rotate them. That's the kind of thing we see in a lot of this customization in various games that we've played. Assuming you play more than one video game. Obviously, once we can scale and rotate these, we can see some really cool options for customizing our ships in the future. Now, let's get back to our top story. We've got some new ships coming in the dev blog. These were just announced today, which is June 5th. At least it is at my house. It might be a different date by the time you're watching this. We're very pleased, says Wargaming, to announce the newest branch of researchable ships coming to the game, German heavy cruisers. Now, if you're like me, you're like, hey guys, we have a line of German heavy cruisers. What makes these so different? Well, that's what I'm thinking right now. The branch will start at Tier 6. That's awesome. I'm so glad that they're not starting at Tier 8. I think this is cool. And it will consist of 5 ships. The Deutschland, Admiral Scheer, Knesebeck, I have no idea how to say that, Manteuffel, and the Prinz Adalbart. There's a place in San Diego called Adalberto's. They make burritos. Find them and go get yourself a burrito. I recommend a Cali burrito. The Cali burrito has French fries in it. It's amazing. Along with the release of this branch, we are introducing the oft-requested mechanic, manual control of your Wait a minute, hold on. You guys said manual secondaries earlier, and I did not realize You meant manual control of the secondary battery. This is some cartoon nonsense. I didn't actually know that until just this moment. By the way, I haven't read this article yet. Manual control? Let's keep reading. This feature will launch with the new German cruisers starting, from the Tier 8. I'm going to call it the Knesebeck because I'm just not going to try that right now. I need my German friends to help me. But that does not mean it will solely be a feature of this. Other ships in the future may benefit from this ability. Important elements to note. Now they did this for the carrier rework, right? Where the carriers can control their manual secondaries as though they are mains. Important elements to note when controlling secondary batteries. You'll be able to swap between your mains and secondary battery controls like you do with other types of armaments. For example, between main batteries and torpedoes. When they are not being manually controlled, they will act the same as secondary batteries. Good. I think that's exactly what they need to do. Your main guns will track the crosshair while you are operating the secondary battery. Also good. When I'm pointing my secondaries, that's me working on whatever target I'm working on. I'm interested in you maintaining my main guns pointing so that I can switch back and forth and immediately take shots. That sounds good. When switching to manual control of your secondaries, their characteristics may change when compared to automatic mode. That's for game balance purposes. Okay, fine. When manual control is active, the secondary mounts that don't have an angle or fire on the crosshair will not automatically target or fire on enemy ships. I would want them to remain automatic, but I get why maybe, like when you switch to control them, you're controlling all of them. And just like on your Omaha, which has guns pointing every which way, if you can't get them all on target, you can't shoot them all. So there are going to be times when it is to your advantage to switch away from these and let the secondaries do their thing, especially if you got targets on both sides of the ship. All skills and signals that impact secondaries will continue to function as they currently do. I think that sounds reasonable. I like that as an initial stance. We'll see how this goes as they get it into testing. Now let's take a closer look at the new line. Compared to the existing branch of German cruisers, these ships will specialize in closer quarters combat through their large but relatively short-ranged main guns and their improved secondaries. Combined with the typical German traits of improved HE, so we still get our quarter pen, probably, and hydroacoustic search, as well as their solid protection, these ships will be able to take the fight to the enemy despite their large size and poor handling for a cruiser. I guess that'll be all right. Let's keep going. Here's a picture. Oh, look at this. They got a little thing in here that says secondary battery, and it's highlighted, and it's got 2 little shells instead of 1 because that is a controllable armament. So that's how they're going to represent this in the port. That's kind of interesting looking. Guys, I did not know that this was... I'm grappling with this idea. This is brand new to me. Now I understand why there was like 100 messages in the Discord when I got off work today. Here's a picture of a ship. Okay, at the bottom of the screen here. And I'll make these bigger for YouTube people. Sorry, Twitch people, you get to suffer. But at the bottom it shows, HE shells, AP shells, torpedoes, and then number 4 is a secondary battery button. Like you can just switch to it like any other manually controllable thing. Will they get close enough to brawl? Are you asking if they'll survive to get close enough to brawl? I'm sure they'll at least be able to get into range, but will they live there? Will they hang with the big boys? I don't know. I think the Tier 8 is going to be a difficult school. You're going to go to school, you're going to get beat up, and you're going to learn that life is hard. But I'm wondering if they're gonna dangle on a carrot out in front of us a really nasty looking Tier 10 that seems like a real tough guy. Admiral Scheer. This looks like another Grafspee. This is a Tier 7. Oh, here it is. Sister ship to Grafspee and Deutschland. She served in the Spanish Civil War with a more active role, bombarding the city of Almeria. She undertook commerce raiding in the South Atlantic and Indian Oceans in the start of World War II. Very cool. Another real historical ship. That's cool. We like to have historical ships in here. She was part of the force that attacked convoy PQ-17. This is the opportunity for me to tell you guys to go watch the PQ-17 documentary featuring Jeremy Clarkson of the UK Top Gear. It's a great documentary, and it tells a really interesting story about an ill-fated Allied convoy called PQ-17 that was trying to get stuff to the Soviet Union during the war. All right, jumping up here to Tier 8. This is where we start getting the control of the secondaries. This is the Knesebeck. This one, let's take a look at its numbers. This is a hypothetical, so totally a faked up ship with 305 millimeter main battery guns, which was considered in the 1930s. Look how short the superstructure is. It looks like there's plenty of superstructure to shoot, but it doesn't look very tall with the exception of this tower. The rest of it is pretty low. 50,000 hit points, 27 millimeter plating. This one is a 60-second fire, so large cruiser concept kind of. 6 barrels at 305 millimeters, 23-second reload. This looks very shill-like, so if you like the shill, this might be kind of similar. If we look at the secondary armament, the range is 7.6 kilometers. You'd put Pack-a-Punch on there to extend that range. And you'd build into it. What's interesting about this is these are cruisers, not battleships. So you can't build a full battleship secondary build. Also, you're going to build stuff using the secondary upgrades, whether they're signals, whether they're captain skills, whether it's modules that you can add to your ship. And those modules might have better or worse benefits when you're manually controlling these secondaries than when you're automatically controlling these secondaries. One of the challenges with cruisers is we don't have all the tools to build a full secondary build, and the hitting DPM, the accuracy, or the accuracy combined with the DPM combined with the range, that holy trinity of secondary power, if that isn't all there, a lot of times secondaries for cruisers can feel like fool's gold. Unless it's something like Napoli or maybe Schroeder, a lot of times cruisers are just not that effective at being secondary platforms. But all of the math on that changes when you can take the helm or take the controls of those weapons and put them into play. Now, what's the dispersion going to feel like? What's the range and the general accuracy going to feel like? What's the velocity? Are you going to be able to go over islands or not? All of this stuff is interesting. What we're really getting here is a ship that has two kinds of guns. Now, imagine those French battleships, or even like the Japanese battleship Izumo that has big secondaries on the back of the boat that you don't get to control. Like, wouldn't it be cool if on boats like that one day you were able to control those big 152 millimeter or even 203 millimeter turrets on the back of a boat like that when you weren't driving the main batteries? I think this is an interesting idea. I don't think they're going to retrofit it to every ship in the world, but I can imagine those designs being reused for a ship that has this kind of capability. Now, of course, we're talking about cruisers today. I think they're going to be a little more hesitant to do this with battleships, but I would not be surprised if we saw this on a battleship someday. Let's keep looking at this. Air defenses are kind of difficult to talk about. Slot 1, and at least I haven't mean anything to anybody, but slot 1, we've got a fast damage control team, so that means you've got a 40-second cooldown there with a 10-second duration, but limited charges on your damage control party, so similar to the Soviet battleships or the Schlieffen. Repair party, 28 seconds, 247 hit points per second. So nothing too exceptional there, only 3 charges, which is reasonable. You get a 4th one if you took superintendent. Hydroacoustic search, 6 kilometer hydros at tier 8 are excellent. Main battery range on this, 16.8. For me, that's long enough. I wouldn't mind 17.8, I guess, actually would make me feel a little bit better. But 16.8 is probably workable, especially if you're also going to be trying to use these secondaries in a very direct way. If we jump down, we've got the Manteuffel, not sure how to pronounce that, 60,000 damage. Similar stats here, 27 millimeters for the plating, and that's probably your bow and stern there, with a 60-second fire duration. 17.6 kilometer range, so getting into a more comfortable range for me, at least. Decent velocity on the shells. These are 350s instead of 305s with a 2.1 sigma. Let's go. I like that. 8 kilometer secondaries. Again, I think you can get some decent range out of those. Pack-a-Punch boosts your secondary range 20%. So you're going to be out to 9.6 just taking Pack-a-Punch. Then there's a signal. So you'll get out above 10 kilometers, which is not super far, but not bad. Fast damage control teams, repair party, similar stats to the other. Hydros with a 6 kilometer range again, and then Def AA. And then we've got Prinz Adalbart, the tier 10. It's got this, pyramid, triangular shaped superstructure. Looks kind of like a super graph spay there, which is kind of cool. I always thought the graph spay looked pretty interesting. 64,000 hit points, 27 millimeters of armor, 60-second fire duration, better torpedo protection, 18.2 kilometers, 2.10 or 2.1 again on the Sigma, with a max dispersion of 201 meters, so not too terrible there. I think there's a lot of people raising eyebrows right now, but I bet you people are going to like these. If they don't nerf them into the ground, if they make them a I'll say competitive, but I don't mean competitive like take them into clan battle. I mean worth playing in randoms, not just operations or not just co-ops or not just ranked. Like if you can take these into randoms and have a good time, I think these boats have a potential to be popular. If you have torpedoes and secondaries and mains and submarine airstrikes, this is starting to test what's your APM. We're moving on to the Japanese cruiser Kushiro, which has this sick looking camo. I'm a sucker for a good looking camo, and this looks like a G.I. Joe toy I would have played with as a kid. Kerensky says, ooh, I bet the alternate camo will be nice. I agree. The alternate will probably be blue, and we like blue, the blue versions of the Japanese boats. In battle, Kushiro will be enjoyable for fans of Japanese heavy cruisers. That's me. I'm a fan of Japanese heavy cruisers. Maybe you guys are too. With her good HE shell characteristics and torpedoes, compared to Zhao, one of my favorite ships of all time, she has a stronger set of consumables. Come on, guys, including an improved repair party, faster cooldown, and better hit point recovery. I like the sound of that. Additionally, she retains the typical Japanese cruiser consumables of hydroacoustic search or def AA and spotter or fighter. However, for the first time, a Japanese cruiser, Kushiro will have access to the exhaust smoke generator. Is this just exhaust smoke generator Zhao? 50,000 hit points. That sounds like Zhao. 25 millimeters. I don't remember what Zhao's armor is, I'll be honest with you. 17.2, that sounds like Zhao. 203s, that sounds like Zhao. 10 guns. That sounds like not quite as many guns as Zhao. The dispersion is going to be a thing to look at too. The maximum dispersion 151, which is, I think, decent, but I don't think that's quite as good as Zhao. I could be wrong. It might be spot on. Fire chance is 17%. That might be a little bit lighter weight than Zhao's as well. Good initial velocity. That looks like decent dispersion and good sigma though. So these will probably be workable guns. I do think so. Zhao is 12 guns. She's got 4 triple turrets. Canoe points out a fact. Airstrike ASW. Let's go. That sounds great. Quadruple torpedo turrets that only go 8 kilometers. Those are not as good as Zhao's. Secondary armament is probably not what this boat's about, so we won't spend a lot of time on it. Look at all these consumables. Now, some of these share a slot, so hang with me as we go through this. Slot 1, damage control party. 60-second cooldown, so not as good as the 40-second cooldowns that we think of as like our shortest of cooldowns, but 60 is still good. That's improvement. Repair party, 60-second cooldown again. 28-second duration, 331 hit points per second, not bad. 4 charges is good too. So you'll actually get 5 if you take Superintendent. That's pretty nice. Exhaust smoke generator, yes, please. Now that is in slot 3. That is a unique slot. Nothing else is in that slot because that is probably the party piece of this boat. It's kind of what it's about. Lasts for 30 seconds, disperses in 10 seconds. 4 charges. Cool. I'm all about it. Let's go. I am interested in this boat. 1, please. Let's go to the Italian super battleship, Affondatore. Hello, Italian super battleship. This must be the supership on top of the Colombo line. All right. A ship of unlimited displacement with extremely powerful artillery armament. The battleship inherited her name from one of the first Italian ironclads, the famous Affondatore, literally sinker. Affondatore will play in the same vein as her Tier 10 counterpart, combining a large barrel count with access to powerful AP shells. Unlike the ships of the tech tree, she will not carry sap, which is weird. Affondatore also carries combat instructions, charged by hits of the main battery. They enhance her secondary rate of fire, penetration, and dispersion, and improve the ship's speed by 10%. I like going faster. Combat instructions, however, does not increase your secondary range. Therefore, to get to the maximum use, you will need to get to extremely short range, a situation that your solid armor and improved exhaust smoke will be vital in. What do you mean extremely short range, y'all? 115,600 hit points, 32 millimeter plating, 16,406s, 1.6 sigma, so she's not particularly accurate, but that's not uncommon for battleships that have a lot of shells, a lot of barrels. When you hit ships with a main battery shell, you get a 3.5% bump to your combat instructions. When you activate it, your reload time for your secondaries comes down 75%. Wow, that's a lot. The secondary HE penetration goes up. Maximum secondary shell dispersion comes down 80%, and the ship goes 10% faster. Wow, let's go. It lasts for 45 seconds. This doesn't seem like a super Colombo. but it does seem like a battleship at tier 11 somewhere, right? So if this is what Wargaming wants to build, I guess go for it. If it's fun, we'll play it. They also have the pictures of Sibir. This is a very traditional set, I guess, of Soviet colors. But this pattern is kind of unique. I like it. I think it looks good. I don't know if Sibir is going to be my kind of boat or not, if we'll have an opportunity to get a hold of it and give it a run for its money. But it's another tier 10 premium, or I should say special ship, which looks like it could be interesting. And I like the camo they put on it, so that's cool that they got pictures of it for us. There it is, folks. That is the news. Thank you so much for watching Clyde Plays News and everything else on this channel here on Twitch, or if you're over watching this on YouTube. First of all, thank you. I know I haven't put out a video in a while. This is one that I think we're going to go ahead and edit and get up there. In fact, if you're watching this on YouTube, I already did. And with all of that said, thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.
This has been the news on Clyde Plays Live.